I'm here at the Jefferson Brethren Church in Jefferson Township. It's just north of Goshen. And I'm going to be doing an interview today of Jay Nimtz, who's the worship leader here for their contemporary service. Welcome to Worship Unleashed. I'm here with our first interview with Jay Nimtz. What's the name of your church here, Jay?
The name of this church is Jefferson Community Church.
Jefferson Community, and are you affiliated with is there a denomination that you're affiliated with?
It's a Brethren
Church. So it used to be Jefferson Brethren Church.
Yes.
So now it's Jefferson Community.
Right.
Which is kind of being more inclusive. You're trying to. Is there a reason for the name change?
I think they suspected that people were pigeonholing it too much, and so they changed it to Community.
Okay.
So.
Is it how long have you been here?
I'm gonna say 6 years.
Okay.
Been leading worship here.
Okay. And did you attend here before you led worship? Or
no.
Okay. So
No.
they just kind of were brought in or invited here just to do the worship part.
Right. Invited by the other worship leader and to help out, and then he needed a sabbatical. He'd been doing it for 10 years, and so then I took over, and then recently he's beginning to help out again.
Okay. Now are you full-time, part-time, volunteer, or do you have some kind of what other kind of position do you have in the church, or are you considered on staff? Are you on a council? Or are you on a committee?
No. Or not on staff. I'm just volunteer.
Okay.
And go ahead. I was going to say no. You asked me the questions.
No, you go ahead.
I'm volunteer. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm not staff.
Okay.
I think you have to be a really good musician to be paid, and so right now I'm volunteer.
Now I know you better than that. they're getting more than their money's worth.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of redundant. They're not paying you anything; you're getting more. Okay. So, like on a typical Sunday, now you have. Let's talk about the services. You lead worship for one service.
Yes.
How many services do they have? They have two services.
Yes. Jefferson has two: an early morning service, which is traditional. And then they have Sunday school in between them. They have our service, which is contemporary.
Okay, so you're doing more like the Matt Redmond, Chris Tomlin, Jeremy Riddle type stuff.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right.
And you're like the attendance at each of those is pretty well balanced. Is it pretty much equal for both services?
I'm thinking it's about balanced. Maybe the traditional has a few more people. We're under 200 right now. There were more here, but it's between 150 and 200 altogether. So I'm going to say 75 maybe at.
Okay. So it's pretty well balanced, but it probably fluctuates with seasons probably
yeah,
more
right.
too. It depends on the early service, and late service probably gets more people in the wintertime, I suppose, than the early service sometimes depending on the weather. So
yeah. Right.
Okay. So that sounds healthy.
Yeah.
Now describe your service a little bit. Would you consider it to be like in terms of contemporary? The music is contemporary.
Right.
What else do you do? Do you have kind of an announcement time, and do you go through? Is it more of a bulletin type thing where you go through a list of an agenda like that, or is it more free? Is it a little more planned, or how?
It is planned. There are announcements, and there's a children's story and scripture reading all before. And then there's a block of worship, which I like because that's right before the sermon. There's no. At one point, we used to have one song, then a bunch of announcements, and then more songs. And that first one became a throwaway song. It wasn't really worship. So the way they have it now works really well because it's just a block of worship, and then there's the sermon.
So you prefer it that way? I know
Yes.
a lot of churches do that, like an intro song or a welcoming song kind of thing at the beginning. But yeah, the block of worship in that kind of prepares their hearts for the right into the word time. So it kind of there's no distraction.
Which for years that first song I began to call it a throwaway song. I mean I didn't mean to be mean towards it, but I just picked that one out. Okay, this one's a fast song. It's loud and it's short, and it'll get everybody inside.
Right.
And so then it's really not worship.
Right.
So I think what we're doing now is better.
Yeah, it's not certainly not as much of an intimate time or a connection time or an engagement time for people that first song. But I guess for some people do that for visitors. If they have a lot of visitors, it kind of helps them feel a little bit easier about coming in and they know something's happening. And that's kind of
Yeah.
the thought behind it with some churches. But
Yeah.
it does work with some and it doesn't work with others. And you can usually sense when it's not working or when it is working
Right.
or when it's just kind of a waste of time.
Right.
So, good. So now you play, how many instruments do you play? All at once.
I play acoustic guitar, mostly rhythm. I'm not really a lead player. I do play mandolin. I'm really not an accomplished mandolin player, but I can fake it enough that people think I know. And the same with harmonica. Once in a while, I'll throw a harmonica in, and it's again, I'm not a really harmonica player.
Okay.
So
I've heard you play. You play pretty good.
I'm
More-
rusty now.
I can't even hardly spell. I don't think I can spell harmonica. So, now describe your team. You have one worship team, right? So do you have different musicians that fluctuate in and out of that, or there's Randy. I don't know.
Are you
hi,
doing
Randy.
an interview?
Hi, folks. This is
Yeah.
Randy. Yeah.
Hi, Kevin Blaine.
It's our crazy drummer.
Yeah.
I call him Animal.
Yeah.
I call myself dumber.
So he's dumb. You're dumber. Is that the way that works?
Yeah,
It
dumber.
works that way.
I haul him on my moped.
I'm sorry. What was your question?
Your team itself. So you have crazy people like Randy playing drums, and
Yes.
then what else? Do you have more than one drummer, or do you have like people that can switch in and out, or?
Right now, we just Randy is. We've had 3 drummers at one time, which got a little tough to rotate them in and out. But some of the other ones are Randy's making faces at me. Right now, again, just Randy's doing because other guys are kind of taking a break. So we have myself on acoustic and lead sing. We've got an electric guitar player, a keyboardist, and a pianist, 2 girls that sing backup, and then my daughter's been helping out as well on acoustic guitar and leading some songs.
So you're not the only lead vocalist. You have some others that do. You have like a female lead vocalist that you can have lead
Right.
some songs. So you're not
And then the other worship leader on the piano can lead songs too.
Okay.
So, and I appreciate that because I think people will get tired of just me all the time. And so
Yeah.
I do try to, spread that out.
I get tired of you all
Thank
the
you.
time. So that's
Yeah.
yeah.
We are missing a bass player for the last 2 years. We've not had a bass player, so, and that makes a difference.
Oh yeah,
like
bass
one.
is a big part of the backbone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. So like you have this is a Thursday night and this is your practice time.
Mhm.
Do you have more than one practice, or do you have a practice Sunday morning at some time before the service, or is this your practice?
Well, this is our practice, but we do set up before. I skip Sunday school.
He's a rebel.
I'm a rebel. I set up, get everything set up, and we do practice
Like a
songs a
sound
little
check
bit.
kind of thing,
Yeah,
or-
we like go over songs a
Dial
little
in.
bit, but not the whole thing. So really, we only have one practice.
Okay. So you kind of brush up and talk about particular things or transitions or
Right,
key
yeah.
changes or whatever you're going to be doing. Okay. Now, how much time? You said there's a block of time. How much time is usually allowed, or how many songs do you usually play during that block of time? 17 and a half minutes or whatever.
Yeah.
Till we
there's-
get darts from the pastor.
Yeah. We get kicked out. In 15 to 20 minutes. It's not.
So it's not a real
huge.
set in stone thing. It's just kind of when you're done, you're done.
Right, and then what is kind of cool too is after our set is done, then the pastor comes up and prays, and we keep playing. And last week we tried something that you suggested, and I took some ideas from the congregation and I sang them
Yeah.
at the end of I used the same melody from the song we had sang and sang some of those while he was praying for people.
How did the congregation respond to that? Did they like that? Did they feel
I
like they
take
were-
I take my glasses off when I lead
So you
worship,
have no
so I
idea
can't
what
see people frowning at me. So I don't know.
I should do that right now.
It seemed like a good reception.
It seemed okay.
I've found that people really get inclusive. They feel like they're inclusive, and they feel like they're connected to what's going on.
Yeah,
It's-
it's a little scary though because I'm not sure how I'm going to put those sentences together.
yeah, you're out on the edge.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Now, describe a little bit. Let's go back to more of the nuts and bolts of the mechanical side of things. You have an AV team. You have somebody who works sound. Now, does that same sound person do slides and you have a projector? I assume you have a projector.
we have a guy running the soundboard, and then there's someone else running the PowerPoint. I think we switched from PowerPoint to a new, and I'm sorry, I don't know this
Like
software.
Pro Presenter or something like that.
I believe that's what it is.
Okay.
So So we have 2 people up there. And, you know, our AV team is great because, you know, they don't get a lot of accolades, but they really try, and some of our equipment is, you know, it's a small church. We
You still have an analog board probably?
Yeah.
And, okay,
Yeah.
so it's,
well, we have 2 boards actually. We ran out of space, so we have like a 12 channel running into a 24 channel.
say like a submix that you.
Yeah,
mix in.
and that's really helped us out. But yeah, the equipment's old. It's not fancy, but the AV team does great. And then sometimes there's problems. Sometimes our ground wires aren't working, and there's a
That happens
buzz.
to you guys?
Yeah, that happens.
That's unusual for most.
And everybody turns around and looks at the AV team,
Yeah.
and I'm like, and I'll even acknowledge from front, hey, that's something.
Not their
It's not
problem,
their
yeah.
fault because I don't want them to get pressure.
They're the guys that are never noticed until something goes wrong, and then everybody notices.
Right.
Yeah, that's fun. Yeah. Now, does your team ever have a chance to go to seminars, or do you have any kind of training that you guys do, or do you go to any kind of seminars that the church sends you to, or do you have a chance to even go to, or are you too busy with life, or is it?
Yeah,
what happens with that?
We have not. There have been some opportunities that we haven't gone to. Usually, it just turns out it's so hard to. You know, I mean, we're all working, and then to carve one night out a week for practice is about all we can fathom.
If there was something local that didn't take as much time, would you be interested in something like that, like a Saturday weekend type thing? Maybe just have your worship leaders getting together or something.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's what we'd like to see that happen in our community. So it's, and most of the time people are pretty positive about that. And so I think there's an interest in that in our area. So, now, what is one of your favorite all-time songs? Hymn, whatever it is, modern song. What is one of your, and if Jesus is alive? That's one I just want to toss out there. We used to be in a band. I wrote that song. But do you have a favorite all-time song, or is it kind of a couple songs that you can think of that your all-time default song?
I was trying to think of over the last couple of years. I really like "Lord, I Need You," but not the one that they play on the radio. It's a little bit different version. Maybe the Chris Tomlin type version of "Lord, I Need You." I really like that one. And I hesitate to go too much because it'll get worn out. I really like "How He Loves Us," and again, not the David Crowder. I think Jesus Culture does it. That's what I like to do it. Their style. There are other. It's really hard to pick out real favorite ones, but those.
Okay.
There's a lot more than that. But there are worship bands that I like whole albums. The stuff that I like is stuff we can't do because some of their stuff that I like is a 15-minute worship song.
Yeah.
So
Let's go with this one. So of the newer songs, of the most modern songs, is there anything on the top 10 right now that they're playing on the radio? Is there any, what's kind of your favorite right now that's kind of up and coming, or the latest thing that you guys are doing?
What we've been doing, for us, a new song will be older because it takes us a while to get it on that. But recently, within the last probably 6 weeks, I've introduced "Forever Rain," which has been out for 3 or 4 years probably. But I really like that one, and they seem to be responding. "Forever Rain," "My Lighthouse," and they really respond to that one. I'm trying to think of another newer one. Okay, "Your Grace Finds Me," and "Oceans," and "Open Up the Heavens." Those are all new songs to us that we're doing, and
the congregation really responds to them.
Gets me going. Yeah.
That was going to be my other question, was if the congregation kind of had some favorites or something that they're really responding to right now really well. Those are the ones.
If they respond, I like them. I like the song.
Yeah. Well, as a worship leader, that's what
Yeah.
our heart is all about. So it's good that you're connected to that kind of thing. That you care about them.
Yeah.
That's good. Now, do you have have you written any songs that you've actually had the congregation? I know you've written some songs. Have you written any worship songs?
No, I really don't. I can't figure out how to write a worship song. I've been trying for years, but yeah, when you and I were in a band, we did we did only original material, and those were observational songs about culture and Christianity,
and God and everything. Politics.
Politics. But worship songs are much simpler than the stuff that we wrote, and I can't figure out how to write a worship song. I just don't. I can't. It's not in me. But I love worship songs.
Maybe if you were like half asleep and you could turn your brain down for a little bit, you wouldn't have to think so hard, just write a worship song.
Right.
That's kind of, and congregationally, really, realistically, it almost has to be a little simpler for people to learn. And not everybody's a musician, so that is an issue that some people talk about, how simple the songs are right now. Well, the congregation has to be able to sing them, so they need to be kind of simple to some extent. Musically, they can be, difficult, but singability is an important thing when you're talking about general people connecting with the song. That's a good point. That it is a little tougher than you think to write a simple song that still has content. It's not that easy to do. It's not as easy as you might think. But
Right.
now, so you don't have anybody doing? Now, has anybody on the team written any songs or anything that you know of? Or?
My daughter's written songs, but again, they're not really worship songs. And I don't know if anybody else that has written any song. I mean, maybe some of them have written, but
Not upfront about it, or
yeah.
What is one of the best, most favorite memories you have of leading worship? What is one of the coolest things that kind of stands out to you as far as something that really just you'll always, one of those life memories that you'll always have?
There have been a couple. I know one time, I think it's more than once, but I remember one time I had a specific word of knowledge, almost a prophetic word for the church several years ago, and it was right when we were beginning worship, and it was powerful to speak that, and it really touched them, because but anyways, maybe a lot of people here aren't used to prophetic words or words of knowledge, or they're not sure what that is. But it was right, and it was stuff I couldn't have known about church history. And that was really cool to be used that way. I also really enjoy, there are times when we have a lot of people and they're really responding.
Mm-hmm.
But there are a lot of times, I mean, most of the time you're here to lead worship, you're not, and it's just kind of the work of the ministry, helping people have been freed up over the last several years. People that have been here for years are saying, yeah, it's really changing. To me, I can't see it because I've been here a very small amount of time, and of course, I would like to see more.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
So I think good things are happening. But yeah, there are a lot of times in practice when we just really feel the presence of God. It's harder on Sunday morning for us, the worship team, to do that because we're so trying to facilitate worship for everyone else.
Yeah.
But practices, there's times when we're like, man, we can play this song for the next half hour. Just keep playing.
Because you guys are actually worshiping. It's more than
Right.
more than a practice. It becomes more than a practice.
Right.
All of a sudden, you're actually.
Yeah.
That's good. I think it's good for teams to have that kind of experience. Whether it just brings them together. It's just
Right.
good. A lot of teams are so concerned about the music being just like the radio.
Yeah.
That they forget why they're really there, who they're singing to sometimes. So that's cool that you guys are at that point. So that's kind of neat. Now, what on the positive side? So you've had some good experiences. The church and the church is engaged and growing and connecting to that. What are some struggles that you've had as a worship leader, without mentioning anybody's names? What do you have a particular struggle with equipment? Or do you have a struggle with what's a struggle that kind of stands out? Is it burnout? Is it external, internal kind of thing? Is there politics in the church that you struggle with, or is it what kind of is it that mostly is the biggest struggle?
Well, I'm not a member here, and I'm not really hugely connected, and I've done that. I've stayed aloof for a reason, so that it's intentional, so that I'm not emotionally involved here. I know that sounds weird, but so I have not had politics come down on me. I haven't had any schisms. I think there's probably been complaints about me, as well as good things said about me, and I really haven't heard either. I don't listen. I mean, some people have been encouraging, but I know there's been people that probably don't like my style or whatever.
Sure.
I don't really want to hear it.
Yeah.
Not that I can't take criticism, but my job is to facilitate worship. And there are even some things here that I'm a little bit theologically different than here. This is a good church, but I'm a little more conservative in some things, and I'm a little more liberal in other things. But I wasn't called here to challenge this church's theology, and so it's been real freeing not to be really entangled here. If that sounds, I know that sounds weird.
That's interesting. Yeah, it's pretty.
Yeah, there have been some struggles when people who really don't like our style. It's gotten really better, but maybe a couple of years ago, people who would just frown and just stare at you, and some people would not even stand up for worship, and and you have to just look somewhere else, because there are other people that are really responding.
Right.
So those have been the biggest struggles. That you just go, and that's why I'll say I take my glasses off so everybody looks fuzzy, because I really don't want to see people frowning at me while I'm trying to lead worship.
You're not alone in that struggle. That's any church out there, almost any church I've talked to that has the traditional group there that's been there for 100 years, and then there's the newer, younger adults, the ones that are connecting more with the newer sound. That is a struggle for them. It's a struggle for both. It's a struggle, and you're caught in the middle of that.
Right.
So it's interesting that you're in the position that you're in, not really being a member, and like you said, even theologically you're different. That's not unusual. If you got 150 to 200 people here,
right.
You probably have 150 to 250 different theological ideas here.
Right.
So that's not unusual. Everybody's got that issue with everything, but in some areas. But as long as we're all kneeling at the cross, I guess that's where it matters. I guess. That's interesting. So if there was a group of worship leaders that got together once a month, say for a breakfast or whatever, would you be interested in being a part of that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think a lot of guys would, and I think it'd be fun to have you there, and we'll try to make that happen. I think within the next month or so too, we'll try to get a group together. See what happens.
And you're buying?
Somebody is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Somebody is.
I'm buying mine, and then you can do whatever you want. You can watch me eat if you want.
Right.
Just one last question, and
Okay.
how can the worship leading community, how can the fellowship of believers in the community, how can we pray for you? How can we help?
I would, maybe this is selfish, but I would love to see the size of this congregation double, because when I have 75 people, I feel like our band is almost more
Bigger
powerful. Sometimes I even back off while I'm singing, and just to hear them, and I'll even egg them on. I want to hear you. But there are times when you have 200. I've been in front of audiences of 700, and there's a different dynamic that occurs for a worship team when you have 4, 5, 6, 700 people as compared to 75. And so I'm not mad at the 75 or 100 who come, but when you have more, it amps up the emotional level.
It is one of those cool things where you stop singing for a moment and you just hear everybody, or you almost have to sing loud enough that they can still hear you because they're so loud. There is something that does something to a worship leader at that point, because you just feel like they're just over singing me, and it's just my job is done. They're doing it. They're worshiping, and they're not just listening to me. They're worshiping.
And that's what I would like.
Yeah.
That would be my one thing.
So numbers is a legitimate thing, and
in this case it is.
You want numbers of people who are not necessarily from other churches, just like new believers, whatever, but people who want to sing and who want to engage in worship. So that's we'll pray for that. So Lord, bring more people to Jay's church here, and just make them singers. Bring them all in, make them sing.
Sounds good.
Sing really loud. Drown his voice out.
That'd be good. I'd like that.
All right, thanks Jay for being here, and just bless your team and bless you, and thanks for taking the time to share your story a little bit about what's happening here, and hopefully we'll get some more guys out there that want to share their story and talk about what's happening with their church.
Cool.
So, thank you.
Thank you.
Bless you.